Now, I do want to mention that it's going to be a spoiler warning. So if you have not seen the finale, I don't know what you're doing watching this. Like, just go watch the finale. Unless you like spoilers, then hop on as we watch the finale of the Amazing Digital Circus. We first start off right after episode 8, where Kinga explains to everyone that Caine has been accidentally deleted. And that's not even the shocking part. The most shocking part is how the theory, aka the Soma theory, has been proven right. Now, if you don't know what Soma is, basically a game where there's you and there's also like clones of yourself. And you don't know if you're the clone or the original self. It's a pretty good game, I recommend playing it. The Amazing Digital Circus also plays into this, revealing that everyone is actually just a brain scan. And after Kinga says this, Jax kinda goes crazy, which leads him to get off-screen abstracted. Now, I've seen a lot of people complain that Jax shouldn't have been off-screen abstracted, but in my opinion, abstraction has always been an allegory for suicide, to the point of no return. And even though you're not dead, you're no longer yourself. It's basically death. No one really expects abstraction until abstraction. Same thing with death. No one really expects it until it happens. And it's something that's shocking. I think that's why it's dealt that way. And I think that's why it's really handled well, because we were all expecting to see Jax abstract. But in reality, it just happened off screen. Something that we were not prepared for. So it caught a lot of people off guard. And I actually really like how they did it. And obviously, after Jax abstracted, everyone kind of feels down. The vibe is lower. And I think a really good interaction is actually Gango and Zubo. Because after Jax had abstracted, Gango says that she can't really feel sad for Jax. Jax has always bullied Gango. That doesn't mean you should celebrate his death. That doesn't mean you should also feel sad. You're entitled to your own emotion. And later on the finale, she eventually does cry. Obviously, that doesn't justify the bullying and harassment. It shows character development for Gango. Later on, we see Kinga talk to Pomni. As everyone, now knowing that there are brain scans and knowing they can't really get out, they're kind of stuck. And I really like how we have a new Kinga and Pomni scene, saying how she's a strong person. And I think this just shows one of the qualities of why Pomni deserves to be the main character. In the first part, you can see people helping each other. Zubu helping Gango, Kinga helping Pomni, and now, after Pomni was helped by Kinga, Pomni realizes that Ragata said that she should have been attracted instead of Jax. And obviously, Pomni, sensing that's obviously wrong, helps her. I really like the scene because it finally wraps up the Pomni and Ragata story. So in the end, both of them were able to help each other and realize that, hey, friends look out for each other. And I think this message is very important for the Amazing Digital Circus, as we see in Jax's backstory. Now, one problem I have is how Pomni was able to go into Jax's mind. Because firstly, how did Pomni even know this was even possible? Yes, maybe Kinga told her that when abstracted forms are in the dark, they calm down. But even then, how would she know that she could go into Jax's mind? I feel like this should have been executed better, or maybe showed some foreshadowing or indication that this was even possible. Obviously, you can disagree with me, but I just feel like there should have been like a scene where one of the characters like can go into someone's mind, because this kind of seems out of nowhere. It's not like a major deal breaker. I still think the finale is great anyway, and we can see how Jax truly feels about everyone in the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm surprised we didn't see what happens when Pomni abstracted. We only saw Ragata abstracted, what happens when Zubo abstracted, and what happens when Gango abstracted. We didn't see anyone else like Kinga, which I guess that makes sense because he wasn't really close to Kinga, but I'm surprised we didn't see anything about Pomni. I also really like Jax's backstory, and also we kind of see what happened back with Kaufmo, Ribbit, and Jax. We saw how Jax became friends with Kaufmo, how he became friends with Ribbit, and I just want to say Jax's backstory in the real world is just so sad. Now, what I can probably infer is that Jax is probably trans. There's a lot of evidence, like for example, Jax in a maid outfit. Jax is more comfortable wearing a maid outfit in his mind. Why he might be embarrassed wearing the maid outfit in the baseball tournament, mainly because he didn't want to show that he's trans. This is also further supported in Caine's torture scene, where Jax's skin was being peeled away from Caine. It's to show his real self, and he doesn't want to do that or open himself up because he's afraid of how they might react. What happened is probably that he tried to reach out to his mother and explain that he's trans. But seeing how his mother react, I wouldn't blame him for not knowing how to react. Jax clearly needs help, and he doesn't know how to open up because the people who are around him straight up put him down. I'm assuming his mother is actually safe but the fact that he's doing well probably means that Ribbit was right. She was fine. And what's kind of messed up is that Jax doesn't know that, because the time he entered the circus, he was still in the mindset of running away. What I want to talk about is Jax being a cautionary tale of accepting others' help. We saw that Kinger helped Pomni, which then led to Pomni helping Ragata. And in this juxtaposition, Ribbit tried to help Jax, but Jax pushed away Ribbit. Kaufmo tried to help Jax, but Jax also pushed away Kaufmo. And even though Jax wasn't directly responsible for Ribbit abstracting, he was indirectly caused it. It was just a very sad scenario. Watching this scene, I was legitimately upset. It was like Ribbit really wanted to help Jax, but in the end, Jax just pushed her away, and that caused her to abstract. Obviously, maybe there were some other variables that we didn't get to see, but not only that, but we finally get to see what happened when he was looking in episode 8. And we see that Jax and Ribbit had this huge fight. I feel bad for Ribbit because she really wanted to help Jax, but Jax is pushed away, and I also really feel bad for Jax. And I think this scenario is just probably the saddest one, because at one point I can understand Jax. He literally thinks that he probably killed his mom. He was literally running away, and now he's in the circus. He's still in that mindset, and now he's pushing away Ribbit, which then caused her abstraction. And finally, Pomni reaches to Jax, and we get to finally see the build-up from episode 5 to now and see it pay off. I really like the lighting here. Pomni is taking every step, because it kind of shows that he doesn't take the first step to help himself. It's always Pomni. And I really like how they done it. This was a satisfying conclusion to Jax's story. We know how Jax became into Jax, right? And we also find out why he looked at his hand when he pushed away Pomni. At first, we all thought that, he felt bad pushing away Pomni, but it could also be him remembering that he pushed his mom. I also really loved it on how Pomni was saved, because it truly shows why Pomni is the main character. He was able to bring everyone together. So after Pomni got saved, can we just mention of how colorful it is? The circus has never looked this bright. I mean, in the beginning, it was just dull and grey, but now it's super bright. And I think that's mainly because everyone is helping each other out. Zubo was helping Gango, Pomni was helping Ragata, Kinger was helping Pomni, Pomni was also helping abstract the Jax, and that brings me to the last person they have to help, Caine. So when Caine was deleted, he wasn't actually deleted. He kind of got into the recycling bin or the void. And in the end, Caine looks at Bubble, which for some reason doesn't have a face anymore. I don't know what happened to Bubble. And in the end, we see Caine's backstory. We see the creation of the digital circus, on how he was able to use the brain scans and create the digital circus. Now, I've seen people say that Caine coming back makes no sense because there was no indication that he could come back. And in my opinion, if you know computers, you should know that when you delete something, it doesn't automatically get deleted forever. It gets stored in the recycle bin, where you can then empty the recycle bin. And I hear that some people say that Caine was redeemed too fast, but I think people need to realize that Kinger's original intention was to not kill Caine. He was there to make sure Caine is less insane. Other than that, I really like seeing Caine's backstory and how he created the digital circus. I am a little bit disappointed that we didn't see Scratch talk or any other characters in the beginning talk and see their interaction. The only time we saw that was just Kinger and Queenie. This is where Caine basically talks to himself, where he has the red side, which is I guess the evil side, and maybe the blue side being the good side. I don't know, but basically he has this dilemma where it's they were trying to get rid of me, but at the same time he understands that they have free will, and he's not allowing them to live. He's forcing them to do these adventures. So this is where Caine removes the blue AI. I wish we had an explanation on what the blue AI is. Is it Bubble? Is it Abel? My headcanon is that it's Bubble. But then after this, Caine goes back to the gang and he explains himself and why he's sorry. Now, obviously, we don't know how much power Caine now has because he has removed the blue AI, but they seem to forgive him and accept him. And lastly, we have the ending scene where we get to see what happens into their real selves. So Pomni is Abigail, Ragata is Susie, Gango is Zoe, Zubo is Riley, so Kinga is Grant, and lastly Jax. And I also really like how Kinga put down his head as a sign of respect. And even though Jax is abstracted and the majority of people here are stuck, I really like this ending because it's bittersweet ending. It's not a happy ending, but it's an ending where they're able to accept the situation they're in. And even though they might not be real and are just clones, as what Pomni said, she's not Abigail. She's her own person. Pomni. I think the finale was pretty good. Sure, it wasn't like peak, but it's also not bad. I've seen some people saying that, oh, this finale was garbage, it was terrible. It's not. This is like one of the better finales that I've seen since like this year. Like, this is definitely not on like Game of Thrones or like Star versus the Forces of Evil bad. In my opinion, this finale is pretty good. Yes, are there some problems? Yeah. But in the end, the main priority were the main cast. And were the main cast stories and were the main cast stories wrapped up and ended? Yeah, I think it was pretty good. Here's the things I liked about it. I really like how we got a resolution to every character. Ragata realizing that Pomni is still her friend. Jax realizing to finally learn the lesson to open up to other people. Caine realizing his mistakes and finally being part of the gang. And Gango and Zubo finally being together. And I think for being Gooseworkz' first show, I think it was really done well. All in all, I hope Gooseworkz for all the best for the future. And I want to thank everyone from the Amazing Digital cast, Glitch Studios, everyone in the cast for making this show. I really enjoyed this show from episode 1 to episode 9. It's kind of insane that we've been here for like what, 2 years, I think? Since the pilot, I think it's longer. I don't know. But it's been an amazing time with everyone. I also enjoyed everyone for watching my shorts on the Amazing Digital Circus. As always, this is Windmill, signing out.